Good morning, St. Maarten. April 3rd, our 72nd episode on What's Cooking St. Maarten, a Monday morning chat with MP Camper. Just hold on a minute to make sure that we are on, and then we will kick off this very lively podcast today because there's a lot to be said today, and a lot will be said today. All right, let me first start off. I see we are online. Let me just start off by wishing our firefighters. Last week was Firefighters Week. I totally forgot to wish them that. So let me say once again, I hope you all had a great week. You all are the people that take care of us and keep us safe. When we have calamities, you always are there putting your life on the line. So I hope you all had a great week. And we are going to be climbing to higher heights. So, Chief Clive and his crew, congratulations once again. Winnair, I noticed Winnair has now joined the ranks of the Flying Blue program with KLM and Air France. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see our national carrier joining forces with those big airlines to ensure that the business movement is much better. Now, the budget has many increases that I don't believe will yield much of the projected income in 2023. I'm happy I stated it last time around because I saw the minister came out and started talking about Airbnb. The monies are there and it's there for the collecting. Well, collect it. Don't tell people you're going to collect it. Collect it. The first quarter, the heaviest bookings of this year have basically passed us already. January, February, March are big bookings. That's high season for us. Starts in late November and ends in early April. We have missed that because the budget was not in effect, so the law was not in effect. Nevertheless, they said they didn't need a law. So again, we'll see. Let's see how the funds are going to be collected. A lot of funds, tourist tax and all kind of things. And let's just see. I don't want to pound unnecessarily, but I don't believe that the income projections are realistic. Putting amendments very soon on the table again, something that this country don't like, and I agree because amendments are problems. They are always problems. At the end of the day, you start to redo your budget and then the budget that was approved is now not approved anymore. That happened with us in 2022, so I don't think that's going to change in 2023. So, I have to ask a question because I am now a little confused. How many people live on St. Maarten? Because the answer is all over the place. According to the census, presently, there are 58,722 people that are now formally registered. It used to be 62,386, but that was done last year, November. And that was also one of the reasons they said, okay, we passed the 60,000, so we're going to 17 senators in parliament. Then they started deregistering people. 3,908 people have already been deregistered, and that was up to 2016. And from 2016 to 2023, that still has to be reviewed. How many people are living on St. Maarten with permits that are not even valid anymore and are still in the system? All of those have to be taken out of the system. So eventually we'll see where we land with the number. But that's one number. Then we have the number of 42,846. That is the World Bank's number. That is the source of the World Bank. This is what we use for the programs on St. Maarten. So at census, we have 58,000. And at the World Bank, we have 42,000. That is a significant difference. That's 16,000 different. That is more than 35% compared to what the World Bank is saying we have on this island. And that also means then that we have a very serious problem when we are planning properly for this country. Because we're not planning for 42,000 people. We're at least planning for the 58,000 that are registered at census. And then we still have the undocumented on the island. So you see, this is where numbers become a very serious problem for prognoses in how you're going to do it in this country. We have to understand that if we look at our present numbers at census, and we can easily see we have about 15 to 25% undocumented population on this island, we can easily be up at this, in the high 70s or low 80s. Thousands, I'm talking about thousands of people on this island. And that makes a very, very serious impact on when you are doing calamity calculations on where you want to go, how you're going to take care of people, how much food you need, how much shelter you need. All of these things are very serious when you don't have a proper census. Now, I am not blaming the census for this, but I hope that the central bank starts to respect the numbers of the census and not their own sources, which are no good. We already had it when we were doing COVID. We were at 40,000 people when we had the COVID numbers, putting us in very high brackets with number of deaths per 100,000 and all those type of things. So again, I'm saying not that every death is one death too much, but at least use the proper sources. And the World Bank sources are clearly not good. But this source is something from up in 2021 they were having it. And I know the population didn't grow with 16,000 in a year or two. It didn't. So the source is bad. The government has to ensure that that source is changed as fast as possible. Now, we got to understand how we look at this, because the medical facilities can't handle it. Your education can't handle it. Your infrastructure can't handle it. Understand what numbers can mean when we don't know what the numbers really are. Now, let me set the record straight a minute on a statement I made last week. Some people believe, and they have tried their utmost to go and tell the people at Public Works, you see what your ex-boss, Bancampa, do? He said, oh, you no good, and all you this, and all you that, because I told the Minister of VROMI, Mr. Duran, that if you believe going to a water management or water contract, whatever you want to call it, when you don't know how the sewage plant works, when you don't even produce water in your own country, when your water management is in a deplorable condition, you leave the budget here and you go up there. And then you come back here and you start to paint a few little things with the boys from Public Works. And then when I make a statement and tell you that will not distract us, you say, you see, all he's saying is that's all I can do. If it wasn't for Public Works, Minister, the landfill would have been in shambles. If it wasn't for Public Works, the roads would have been in shambles, because they're the ones doing it, not you. All you have been involved in, we're going to talk about just now. Like those fraudulent district cleaning contracts. Like the garbage contracts. We're going to talk about those things today. We're going to talk about what's really happening in the country. We're going to talk about them. And then we will see, because you forget one thing. I spent 24 years of my life in Public Works. I worked hard to make the Department of Infrastructure a recognizable department, that when you pick up the phone and call, things would be done. Not the way it is today. Nobody's responsible, everybody running. Oh, for God's sakes, the department head gone on vacation again because things get hot, because he formed a party, start to ask for documents. Please, stop pretending. Public Works will always be in my hat. All for one, one for all. Something you have never heard of, nor do you understand. When you do, you'll understand Public Works better. The crew, I can still say it's my crew. I can walk in there any given day and ask them to do something and it can be done. You all get upset when I even park in there. Oh, you don't walk there, you can't park here. Man, behave yourself. This I build, I had. We build it. I don't give away land that don't belong to me to give away. You just do those things. And then try to take it from others. Not me. I don't do those things. I never give away land in my life. I have always fought to ensure that those that have a right to get something, get it. I broke 4 big contracts and made 8 to 10 contracts and put boys in the district cleaning and put boys to clean trenches. I made contracts that were used to be 4 big contracts. I did that to ensure that everybody could eat. You suddenly started to change the rules of the game. You said we didn't know how to tender. You said public works didn't know what they were doing. Look at the mess you got it in today. And then you're a run, go, talk all your stupidness. I don't need Parliament's floor for immunity to call you a crook, you know. I'll call you a crook right here. You're a crook. You know it. And you're going to be exposed. And I can be part of that. I can be part of it. So now you know. You want to play games with people? Let's play games. And don't send your family to come crying by me to tell me don't do this no more. I'm sick and tired of them. But let's talk on the brilliance you have done. Last week, Tuesday, I was driving home. It was raining. Guess what they were doing? They were painting Bush Road. Not Public Works. The contractor that you hired. But where were you? Where were your people? Can't you see nobody? I saw the contractors working and I saw rain falling. It's just simply remarkable. But I know you all going to do that just now again. You're going to repaint Bush Road just now. Let me congratulate, on a nicer note, Mr. Carlos Bryson Keynes, who has excelled as a top runner at the games in Jamaica recently, where he was running for his school. But in the Carifta Games, he will be representing St. Maarten in July. Now, again, we just did budget 2023. Go and look how much money is there for sports. The football team just came back. They won. Not placed second, third. They won their division. They have been promoted upwards and they can go in the pre-qualifications for the CONCACAF games. Who's helping them? Not St. Maarten, because St. Maarten ain't got no money on the budget for sports. 1 million guilders can't cut it. You need 10, 15 million if you want to start talking about sports. The same thing like tourism. They put 3 million or 5 million. And they want to compare themselves to Aruba that puts 40 million. Or Curacao that puts 30 million. You all ain't serious. You all such jokers. Same goes for culture. We cry when they knock down the bastion. But we don't put $1 into this. Not one. To go and safeguard monuments. For the past 10 years, not a monument has been placed on the monumental list. But when they knock down something, oh, everybody there with big crocodile tears. Man, stop the hypocrisy for God's sakes, man. Go and put some money into sports. We have a lot of good athletes. A lot. That can use the help to continue abroad. Mr. Brison, Carlos Bryson, Keynes, he got a scholarship from Jamaica. He went to Carifta Games with St. Maarten. The Jamaican coach saw that boy running and said, that's potential. But let me give credit to the team in St. Maarten, Louis Richardson and all them, that molded these boys. I'm happy that the organization I'm coming from sponsored 2 of them to go and run in the Bahamas in April. Because on Saturday, when I went shopping, they were looking for donations by Carrefour. So they can go to the Bahamas. Because the government is no place in sight. But we're working for tourism. You're not doing nothing, man. Help the children, please. You don't have to do me no favors. Do the children a favor. Help them to excel in what they're good at. Look at Grandmaster Liu. He went to Puerto Rico. He came back with 6 medals, gold medals, fighting against Puerto Rico teams and a few American teams. Mind you, we are 58,000 people strong. Puerto Rico is millions strong. America is hundreds of millions strong. And our kids came back with 6 gold medals. Doesn't this tell you all something? I mean, for God's sakes, I don't know what to ask you all, or how to ask you all what to do. But I'll tell you this much. We have decided to increase the vehicle inspection fees, and they're going to go up from, I think, $21 to $38, if I read it correctly. I might be a little off on a few dollars, but that's a lot of money to increase overnight. Now, I know it didn't go up for 10 or 15 years, so seemingly they went up $1 a year. I don't know if the cost of living went up that high. Is there going to be more than one inspection center? Are we going to create maybe 2, 3 inspection centers on different parts of the island instead of bringing everybody to one location and clog up the whole place? Because come the 5th of April, you hear what I said, and they sold about 22,000 number plates. They got to sell over 30-something thousand. That means today's the 3rd, the 5th controls going to start. You're going to see Bacchanal and Soaliga Drive. You're going to see the testing center going to go start crazy. You're going to see the number plates going to go start crazy. Because the booth is nearly the size, so the fine is nearly the amount of the number plate. So everybody going to rush for the number plates. And I know, can't blame the inspection center for that, can't blame the government for that, but it's going to happen. So what are we going to do? We got to be understanding that we have a problem just now. Now, this, I want to go here with something. You know, citizens are allowed to ask government questions. When I was in Parliament, I could recall some 18 months ago, I sent questions back in September of 2021 concerning the fuel clause and, you know, what's going to happen, how we're going to deal with it. I even made a little Facebook short video, which was viewed by thousands. I think I had more than 5,000 views on that little video, explaining what's happening up until today. September 2021, I asked these questions as a senator. Up until today, can't get an answer. Fuel just goes up, utilities become expensive, but nobody can explain the people in this country what it is exactly. So I don't understand. I really don't understand why. Maybe we should have forums once every 2 months, I don't know, in neighborhoods where people can ask government questions and hopefully they can answer. Because right now, every time you go to press briefing and somebody asks a question, they get shot down. Oh, you can't ask that question. Oh, you can't ask this, you can't say that. You know how that is go. And when they go to Parliament, oh, the company didn't give me an answer, so I can't answer you. But you're the government. You're the government. You got to be able to answer. You got to tell the people in the country what's happening with fuel. Is it going to continue to rise till late May, early June? Are we going to climax in May? And we're going to be paying much, much more money for gasoline than normal? You know, what about the bus fares? Are they going to go up? Are you allowing the bus fare to go up? I haven't heard anything about it anymore. I don't take the bus. So I don't know. But it would be nice if somebody could tell me if the bus fare went up, yes or no. Because the bus association asked about that. That they would like to raise the fee because gasoline is so expensive, but nobody's saying nothing. Or they can't do this, or they can't do that, but nobody helping them. There is no subsidy clause, no place. These people have no insurance, medical insurance. Because there's this special group of standalones, like taxi drivers, unless you're in an association, you don't have SFV coverage. So again, these people haven't had enough to constantly be bombarded with more fuel prices that keep rising, and this is their livelihood. This is as if they could just drive the cat to the job, pack up. No, their job is to drive around. So that means burn fuel. So in that sense, I'm asking, you know, is there anything? Now, over the weekend, I got a call and I was kind of surprised. This call had to do with a new taxi association. Now, I know we got an airport, we got a harbor, we got there by the square, I believe. We got down by Walter Plans, that's 4. Now I understood we got a new one coming, the Maho Taxi Association. So there was a voice note going around. I got the voice note too, and I listened to it, and I said, okay, wait a minute. How does this taxi association thing work? If 5 taxi drivers are working, for example, by Bobby's Marina, can they start the Bobby's Marina Taxi Association? And if you don't pay fees to the association, you can't pick up people at Bobby's Marina? How does this work? I know that the airport and the harbor, which are on private property, gave a concession. Because the airport owns the taxi holding stand, and so does the harbor. And both sides, they have controls. You have booms and so to get in to be a taxi. So I understand those two. But the others, I don't understand them. So if tomorrow I have a taxi license, I can't go by the square, or I can't go by Walter Plants to pick up tourists because I don't belong to the association. I can't go down Maho Hotel or Sunset or any other place down in Maho to pick up, so not to bring somebody, but to pick up somebody and start a fare from there because I don't belong to the association. I need government to give clarity in this. This is crazy. Look, I don't have a problem with an association being formed, but what are the guidelines? Can anybody? So tomorrow, 20 bus drivers can decide we're going to start the Phillipsburg Bus Association. And who is a member from that can't come Phillipsburg. Where and how does this work? Does the government have to give an association that wants to form a concession? How does it work? This is what needs to be explained, not only to me, but to any taxi driver. Because some taxi drivers feel that they're all over being cut off from them to work because they don't belong to an association. So they can't be an independent taxi driver. No, they must belong to an association to do this. So again, how does this work? I'm seeing somebody saying help drivers. So help chauffeurs and so. Again, it's not about help chauffeur or not. A help chauffeur by rule is because the taxi license holder is incapable to drive the vehicle at this point in time because it's your first source of income. That's how it's put together. Now, I don't want to get into that discussion because that's not relevant to the discussion of the association. What are the rules and regulations for the association? That has to become very important. Did government give permission for such? Yes or no? Do they need permission for such? Yes or no? This is so important so that they understand what's allowed and what's not allowed. Because I believe at this point in time, it's not clear. I gotta honestly say, the article of the Herald, the digital article, I think it was on Saturday? Saturday? Yeah, Saturday or late Friday. About the demarcation being fixed and everything, and Samantha and them they come to an agreement with her. I really like that one because that one caught a lot of people. Saturday night, by the Island Gems fundraising, I had somebody told me they really had me caught until it reached to the end about the signing. Because, yeah, the Prime Minister wasn't there. It was just the State Secretary saying there was an agreement on the border, demarcation, etc., etc. But I like how the history was put together. Whoever wrote the article, well done, Daily Herald. I think that was one of the best you ever pulled off. Because that one was so relevant. It caught a lot of people. Today there's a different article in the newspaper that explains it. They're not there yet, but there is a consensus, but they're not there yet on exactly what the border is going to be. But at least I must say, it was a good one. Again, let me close off with a little more saddened part in my notices. It was unfortunate to read that some unruly youngsters threw rocks, I think it was Friday night or Thursday night, at the volleyball competition there by Melford Hazel, which struck a child in the face with a rock, threatened the coordinators from Melford Hazel that work over there, what all they going to do. And now Melford Hazel is shut. They shut it down for the safety of the children and the safety of their employees. And the question is, please don't tell me, oh, the police should do a better job. No. Let's start talking about the parents. What are the parents doing? I mean, if your son is involved in this nonsense, look, that he's going to get locked up, most probably, if they catch him, can be an issue, because then his school and all those things are in trouble. But imagine they had knocked out the child's eye and the child lost their eye. There is no sorry. When a parent then takes the law into his own hand, then you're going to say the parent should have known better. But what are you doing? You're sitting on your ass and doing nothing. And your children are out there creating havoc. Up by vocational school, they're throwing rocks, busting windshields, and then asking the people what they're going to do. One of these days, there's going to be an accident. Somebody can get seriously hurt. Then what? Then you want to blame the adult. The adult should have known better. But there comes a time when enough is enough. Then what? You as parent are just as wrong as your child if you know what your child is doing, or if you don't even know what your child is doing, because you're not paying attention. You can't just leave your child all over the place and do what they feel. I read comments on Facebook and I wonder then, but these children must not belong to anybody, because mute. Nobody taking up nothing. Nobody's saying nothing. And, you know, it's unfortunate when the police has to go and arrest a child 13, 14 years old. But what do? Do you allow this to just go untouched? We go open back in 2 weeks or so and hope nobody gets another rock in their head? This is a serious problem, people. Understand. It's a very, very serious problem. But I agree. You see, Stopper, I understand how you feel. Look, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. The problem is this. Innocent children are getting hurt because of stupidity. Maybe those youngsters too want to participate in the sports and they feel they can. But we should then include them. But their parents should take an active role and stop telling me you're only working. Because while you're working and your child becoming a gangster, you're not helping your child, you're hurting your child. Then don't buy him the Reeboks. Just buy him the $20 pair of shoes. Because sometimes you see kids walking around with clothing and phones that you know they can't afford at home normally. Yet, nobody's saying nothing. That's crazy. This is sad. We need to take the bull by the horns. You can't blame the Dutch for this. You can't blame the police for this. You can't blame the government for this. You got to blame your damn self for this. Because you're the parent. You're the guardian. So please, let's do it a little better. I saw an article that caught my attention. Games being played with the rights of a prisoner. And this had to do with a prisoner that was quite ill for a while. Not for a day. But the prisoner was quite ill, and I believe the lawyer asked for help for the prisoner, and it wasn't happening. Or it wasn't happening the adequate way. And eventually, the prisoner, the ambulance came up to pick up the prisoner. They sent back the ambulance. The prisoner didn't need to go to the hospital. And that was on a Friday. On a Monday, it deteriorated so bad that the prisoner had to go to the hospital to stay there, seemingly. And things started to light up in the media on Wednesday, the 29th of March, so last week. And I can recall in the not too distant past that there was a lot of complaints about this medical attention that prisoners get. And they even striked, and the judge said they had a right to strike because the human rights of the prisoners are being trampled on. No, again, I don't want to point fingers because that's not the solution. I just need to bring to clarity that you must understand as government and as Minister of Justice that the public needs to understand what's truly happening here, because you're getting stories from the lawyer, You're getting a remark from the prison management, but the government is quiet. And when it comes to human rights, the government is responsible for that. The government has to ensure that the human rights of the prisoners and their health is not put in jeopardy for whatever reason. We got to be careful with that. So again, this prisoner for 13 days was misdiagnosed. 13 days. Doctor was up there seemingly. Nurses were there. Is it because they just walk in there, see the boy for 2 minutes and they walk back out? How does this work? Because when somebody gets ill and dies, then it's, oh, natural causes. No, it's not. If you misdiagnose somebody for 2-3 weeks and they pass away, that's malpractice. That's what it is. So we gotta be careful, man. I don't want to say that this happened or that happened because I wasn't there. But the media's report is clear. The lawyer's position is clear. Now, how the medical practitioner does his job, that is his right. He has to do what has to be done. You are the doctor, you take care of the patient. The lawyer don't have to be there. I agree with you. The lawyer can wait outside until you're done doing your medical exam. Because you're in the hospital. Up in the prison, there seems to be a different story. And these things need clarity. Again, just some clarity will help a lot on this nonsense what's happening. Because it ain't the first time that this medical issue at the prison is coming up. It's not the first time. As when I was an active senator, I was up there, and the same story we heard from the inmate association. I spoke to inmates, and they spoke about the bad treatment when it comes to medical, especially also dentistry. If they don't have no money, they can continue up there with the toothache that they have. You took away their freedom for a crime they committed. You have not given them the opportunity to make a living. You're going to have to take care of people. This nonsense about the family got to pay for it. Who said the family got money? Who said the family even care about them? I mean, come on, man. We got to set some things better. I ain't telling you go and give him a whole new implant, 40 new teeth in him out, you know. But if the man needs a root canal, it's going to have to be done. You can't have a man up there in pain. Oh, that's inhumane. That's inhumane. I don't care how you twist it or turn it, but that's what it is. So let's just uphold the laws, the human rights laws, and treat the people with at least the necessary dignity as a human being to be treated medically correct. That's all it is. No more, no less. I ain't asking you for more than that. The airport and Audrey Jack. What really happened in there? I decided I wasn't going to really talk with Audrey Jack. Said I'll wait because they were doing this investigation, and come March 22nd, this would have been, she was suspended until March 22nd to do the investigation and finalize it and blah, 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 blah. So where are we now? Where are we? Today's the 3rd of April. Where are we? Up until today, not much. And I strongly believe that jackass at the airport believes that this thing will blow away. And that he will really fire Audrey Jack by creating an allegation, by creating a story, by having some forensic team out of Curacao put things on paper that might not be the truth. But who write what and who didn't write what, who correct what or who didn't correct what? What for nonsense is this? Either she did it or she didn't do it. You don't need 30 days for that. You're trying to get her out of the limelight and prepare something to say that she did this. There's nothing new with your kind of people. That's nothing new. What is going to be new is that you're going to be stopped dead in your tracks this time around. That we guarantee you as the group that's going to fight this one. There's no evidence against this lady other than that she spoke to MP Brison, who passed on that information to Mr. Brian Mingo. That's it. Stuff that she got sent to her, that she forwarded also to management, she forwarded it to the MP. Biggest mistake she made. Because that MP needs to ensure that the concessions at the airport are taken care of for the friends and family, seemingly. And he sends this thing to Mr. Mingo. And look at the show we got today. And people say, boy, you sure you can prove this? What are you saying that? Listen, man. If you all think I'm lying, you know where to go and knock. You all know where to go and knock. The message from Miss Jack was sent to Brian Mingo by MP Rolando Brison. No ifs and buts about that. When he showed it to them, Rolando Brison's name was there too. Because he screenshot it. He didn't just forward it, he screenshot it so the name remained up there. That's how this went. All these people gotta stop playing these games. You're playing with people's lives. And one of these days, somebody gonna say enough is enough. And I pray to God they don't do that. Because innocent people very often get caught up in this stupidity. But yeah, the report will come out eventually from this forensic group. And then we will see what all it was and what is going to happen. And then we will know where we go from there. In the meantime, keep putting up the jet bridges. And notice they're very skinny. I wonder how much people can walk through there. Is it 2 beside each other, 3 beside each other, one alone? What is it exactly? But nevertheless, when I travel, I hopefully will be able to walk through one again next year, and then let you know. Now, let me get to something that caught my attention, and it took them. It really brought out the bad in me. And then I'll give my wife credit and another friend of mine's credit, my brother actually, my confidant. Because what I was going to say today would have not been a nice thing. So I decided to reword it. Remember? But I stand by what I'm going to say. But I will reword it before I say it. When one doesn't understand his job, a sad situation occurred with the PR of justice. I was deeply disappointed that the PR officer of the Minister of Justice found it fit to post what he calls his personal opinion on Facebook with newsletters of Justice News and other matters, and start attacking people and using names that are unbecoming because they express their opinion on a matter that has gone way too far for many years, with the people suffering over the years. All the stories of it's nearly finished, etc., that's political hogwash. As that was also stated last campaign by the then NA Minister of Justice, when he even threw out a 50% payment to employees, and that made him the biggest vote getter the last election. The PR officer was also on that election list. Maybe he forgot that, but he was there. Other ministers have also said many things, but unfortunately, the present minister is boggled up with this problem. So yes, there were other ministers, but the crisis is climaxing now, and this minister will have to face that music. That's the way it is. Now, I have always stood by this Minister of Justice. For one reason or the other, I sincerely believe she's genuine, and she truly means the best. Many people don't agree with me on that, and I respect their opinions. I will not call them, what do we call them? The full of shits and the ungrateful. I won't call them that, because I believe that the minister is genuine, and she is really trying her utmost best to get it done. So that is what I saw in that piece. Now, I never expected that this young man, which I have always held in high regard, would have done what he did. But I need to give you a piece of advice. This job is not for you. You cannot handle stress nor proper criticism, factual or not. As a PR person, you have to understand that your job is to de-escalate problems, not escalate problems. This present government has lied so often to the people of this country that many don't trust them anymore. And when such a statement is made by the PR of the Justice Minister, who is also well aware that March 31st, 2023 was a hard deadline, we gotta understand that something is going to give. When you make a statement and you start calling the lawyer of the union and the president of the union names, please understand that you're not de-escalating a problem, you're only escalating the problem. The comments on Facebook were very, very clear. And you know what you did. To then come back and say, I stand by what I said, but I could have said it different. And then remove your post and say, yes, some people convinced you to remove the post, is utter disrespect to those that you did it with. And again, this is my problem here. This is where things go totally wrong. You used to work for the Prime Minister. You left that office and you joined the team of justice. I don't know what happened. I don't know if anything even happened. But you have a company. You have a PR company that works for the government. And when you start giving your personal opinion, that is the opinion of that company that you own. And if the Minister of Justice does not terminate the contract with you and your company, then the Justice Minister has just sanctioned what you did. And I truly hope she does not do that. Because if she does, moving forward, I will look at the Minister of Justice through a different pair of lenses. And I don't think that's going to be good for none of us. I don't believe at one point that you are genuine with what you said in your closing remarks about you could have said it different. You said what you said. Who made you say that is still the question. That's what we have to really find out. Who made you do this? I don't think that an educated person like you would jump and become so emotional and make such a dumb statement. Because the statement was dumb, outright dumb. Your bread is buttered, my brother. It's buttered on both sides. These officers put their lives on the line every day for our safety and our security. And you basically start mopping the floor with them because a deadline given cannot be met. Don't blame them for that. Don't tell me that the employees working in justice also deserve a raise. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. The issue is an agreement was made. And if the agreement cannot be lived up to, then the minister should do the honorable thing and call in the union, call in their lawyer, explain the situation, make a goodwill payment, and set a new deadline. But not even the Lance Recherche or the immigration had placement letters. And it was promised that everybody would have had it. I'm not even going to talk about copy and paste and the mistakes that were made. That's not relevant right now. Because you tried. I'll say that much. They tried. But unfortunately, it is not ready. And it ain't going to be ready for a while. Where the money be on the budget is also to be seen. But again, that doesn't justify your behavior. Instead of you de-escalating this problem, you have escalated it completely. And we shouldn't be talking about who's full of shit. And we shouldn't be talking about who's ungrateful. We should be talking about who's incompetent. And that's you, sir. You're incompetent for this job. You should seek another job, maybe go write some editorials and work up some stress levels that one day you come back, you can do this job right. But for now, the Minister of Justice has no other alternative but to fire the PR company that you represent that put out that statement on Facebook, because that's not personal. You were speaking on behalf of the government of St. Maarten as the PR officer of the Ministry of Justice. You can twist it any way you want. That's what it was. So what happens now with the police and the justice workers? Because that can be another problem now. Push aside the PR. We got a problem that a deadline, a hard deadline that was agreed upon, if my memory serves me well, also with the Minister of Justice, the Chief of Police, and the Governor. I think all of those people had conversations, and then the Governor and the lawyer had conversations. I don't know if the union was there, and a new deadline from March 15th to March 31st was reached. These are things that were in the media. And police officers were upset that they had even given in on the 15th. And do you understand now why they're upset? Because come the 31st, they were made the Jacko. Oh, they got their All Fools Day present. Factual. They didn't get no money. They were supposed to have money before the 31st of March. They didn't get a red cent. Some of them didn't even get a placement letter. And those that got placement letters got them full of mistakes. So again, you see, this is the problem that you now get in a whole different from the people them, that things are no good. And I honestly hope that we're not going to have industrial actions by the justice workers. But if I can follow the lawyer and the union, that's going to be evident. It's going to happen. And I hope that the government steps in before it happens and comes to a consensus with these workers. And right now, the only consensus you are going to reach with them is you're going to have to pay them. You have to pay them something. You cannot come back and say, well, I'm going to do it the right way and I'm going to do it. That is over. Station passé. Because, Minister, if you keep that tune, you're going to be sent home. You're going to be sent home. And your coalition is going to send you packing. Because politically, you can't hold it no more. You can't hold this no more. Politically, this is a dead animal now. You're all going to have to give in to the police, or you're all going to have a serious, serious problem on your hands. Please, take some good advice from somebody looking on from the outside. Many police are tired now. They're really tired. They believe that they have given their utmost and they have been told stories, because factual, they haven't gotten anything yet. All that has been done has not led to the one thing they want: a proper function placement with their pay. That's all they want. They're not interested in all the other legalities, because that does nothing for them really. It doesn't pay the GB bill. It doesn't put food on the thing. So this is a serious, serious issue that is going on right now. And I honestly hope that the government takes this much more serious than they have been taking it all until now. But again, I hope the government doesn't make the mistake and decide that the safety and the security of this country isn't a priority, and they deal with other things that aren't a priority, but they make a priority. Let me move on to how this works. VROMI, VROMI, VROMI. When will it stop? Let me be clear this time around. I ain't talking about no VROMI employees other than one of them, two of them in infrastructure management. The head, the acting head, and his sidekick. Somebody the minister hired about a year ago. I ain't gonna mention the names today. But the names, I can give them like that. So now, the acting head going crazy. Are we calling people, tell them, bring in your contract. I have to pull in your contract. Bring it in fast. Because you get yourself in a lot of problems. But I don't understand that. The minister signed the contract. Wasn't the contract good? Was something illegally signed? Was somebody given something illegally? Why do you got to bring in the contracts? Nobody brought in the contracts. Everybody started working on Saturday, the 1st of April. And I'm happy they did. Because I don't believe they did anything. Time will tell who did what. That's for sure. Time will tell. I think that the district cleaning contract has become something very serious. The big dogs have started snooping. Questions are being asked to certain people outside already. And answers are going to have to be given this time. This is not going to be like the ombudsman writes a report and then 8-7, they vote it out and everybody goes mute. Now, it's going to be a little different this time. It's going to be a little different, and I'll tell you why. PFP have started asking questions. The advices were brought to Parliament and everybody was able to look at the advices in confidentiality. So they had to go up by the SG and they could browse through the advices there, and then they can, make up their mind if something is good, wrong, or what. Now, PFP has now requested formally, I saw something, a newspaper article, I saw that actually in the weekend already, I think in the digital version, and today it's on the front page of the Herald, where PFP is asking for a lot of documents. Basically, the documents and the scoring sheets, you name it. A good bit of documents. And they want to show that something is very, very wrong in the manner in which the tender was awarded. Now, the minister said, SOB is doing this. SOB wrote a report. SOB didn't write an advice, I understood. They wrote a report. And there is no first findings report of SOB. And this is where things get tricky right away. There was a bid acceptance. When the bids were brought in, they were accepted. This was taped. PFP needs to ask for that tape because it was taped. And this young man in infrastructure management wrote a report of the acceptance. Problem is, that report that SOB got to work with doesn't correspond with the taping. In the taping, people are disqualified. In the report, they're not. Now, again, it is about transparency at this point in time. And when things are not transparent, you get a problem. And that's when you hear PFP says, how can disqualified become qualified? What was the criteria for that? How was this done? And that's not clear. That's not clear to none of us. And because that's not clear, they have now asked for a lot of documents. And it goes much further. Because many contractors would like to know, why were they disqualified? And they're not really getting an answer to what's happening on why they were disqualified. I know one contractor went as far as to the ombudsman, the integrity chamber, wrote letters to the minister, wrote letters to the head of infrastructure, I think he wrote a letter on Saturday, and on Sunday night he was answered. Since when the government working on Sunday nights now? Right away they were answered. And assessments can, if you have an assessment, does that mean you owe taxes? Because an assessment is exactly what it is, an assessment, and you can object to it and it can become zero. But to disqualify somebody because they have an assessment seems far-fetched. But again, these are things that are now being done, and we're going to see what's going to come out of it. But I believe they're going to have problems. Because when you read a tender document, there's an article in there, Article 5.12. So anybody who got a tender document, open it and read it. You will see. The government opted to put in there that if somebody has had trouble with the law, or was incarcerated, convicted, they cannot have a government-owned contract. But that was not used when they were checking the people. So how did you check this? Did you ask for a police record? How did you do this? Because you're talking that you're in compliance, but the compliance goes a little step further than just having SWB draft up something. Because I want to know if SWB also verified that article. Because in the documents you got to bring in is only a document that says that you are not going bankrupt from the courts of first instance. It doesn't say a police record of the applicant. You see how trouble starts? Why put in such an article in a tender? Because you already then disqualify half of the young people. A lot of them have had problems already with the law. But that doesn't mean to say that they can't make a new start in life. Because if you put that in and you don't put a timeline, you got a problem. In the past 5 years, in the past 10 years, you could not have had an interaction with the law. How far does this go? These are things that are now going to play. And on the coming of some people, they're going to realize suddenly now that they're in a bigger problem than they were before. All of these things that are being asked by the PFP. Because when you start to look at all these things, it is impossible that all those that got a contract could have gotten a contract. Know better, do better. But it doesn't stop there. You see, this is the thing. For a contract like this to be granted, the governor must have signed a national decree granting the minister the mandate to sign these contracts. Now, the timeline doesn't lend itself to what I just said. On Thursday, March 16th, the Council of Ministers approved the advice on the 16th of March. On the 17th of March, the contracts were signed in the morning. The governor was off island. He landed later that afternoon, I believe. But when the Council of Ministers approves the advice, you have to prepare what we call in Dutch an aanbiedingsbrief, an offering letter to the governor with the approved advice and all the underlying documents plus the concept draft contracts. I don't understand if you approve it on Thursday that you could have sent all of that to the governor who was in the Netherlands and that everything was checked to sign Friday morning these contracts and take pictures of them. And now suddenly people call to bring back in contracts, etc., and now others gone on vacation because contracts didn't come in and they expect Bacchanal to start. This is what the PFP inquiry and all these documents is going to reveal. This is the problem. We didn't learn from garbage collection. we go and do the same stupidity again. But this time more brazen. Because this time they just cut out the governor altogether. Because I don't believe that there is a national decree either. Because the timeline doesn't support it. And you can't bring one now. Because the contracts were already signed. You can't bring something now to say retroactively. Why didn't you wait until the governor land and his cabinet reviews it? Because the governor can tell you, I want this and this and this changed. At this point in time, the minister signed the contract. So the minister is liable for that contract, not the government. Because it wasn't signed in accordance to the law. These are the problems that are going to be exposed once this review starts. Because a review will start. I am sure of that. The way the contractors have shared information with so many people already, including the Integrity Chamber and the Ombudsman, I am sure a whole review of this tender will start. I hope it remains by that group, but I don't think it will remain by that group. But one thing I'll say, the way to do tenders is not the way we're doing it now. That's clear. It's totally upside down. I think you better just go back to how it was and save yourself all the embarrassments and all the crazinesses that you're putting yourself into and you're putting employees of the ministry in. But that crap are going to smoke his pipe this time around. I think that's a good thing to really take with you. Did you all know that the MOU signed between the government and the Maarten Housing Development Foundation has some problems? Is it so that the people that had that land never had a notarial deed? Because if that is the case, then the minister has the right to take the land. But if that is not the case, then we have a different story on our hands. And like I said, I ain't gonna call names right now yet. But what I find so funny is that only a few years ago, this same minister didn't agree to give this same housing foundation 45 million to build social homes and all those things. Didn't agree to it. So what they do, they now come, can't get through at Vineyard Heights, can't get a land in the quarry from GB because those that have to be in power are not in power. And what happens now? Now we're going to pick up another piece of land and say we're going to build here. Look, at the end of the day, social homes are needed. And if government has land, then government should use that land and do it. But that's not the way it is right now. It's not being done the right way, according to me. And you're going to end up getting court cases and nothing going to get billed for those that really need it. Housing Foundation has a big list, a long list. There's money at the trust fund to build social homes. So hopefully the minister can pick up the phone, call the gentleman that owns the piece of land and see what can be done. What arrangements can be made. Maybe they can make a swap of land with him. Tell him, okay, listen, you had this land. We will give you another piece of land, and then you give us this land. We can continue our program with trust fund and build the social homes needed for the people of this country. Because, I mean, for God's sakes, you gave away $14 million already for those living around the dump. You gave away the Foga land already where they were going to build social homes. You gave those away already. So what now? Are you going to take land from other people? Do you all understand what's really happening here? You all following what I'm saying? They pay a bunch of people by the landfill $14 million in the reallocation program. They took all the Foga land, gave that for them to go build homes for these people, instead of the Housing Foundation, who had all that land there and could have built social homes there. Because that's where the infrastructure was put in place already donkey years ago by VROMI. Don't let nobody fool you. I was there. I was Kurt Rowan's baby. So please, Don't go up in Hope Estate now, look for land from somebody else that your former party leader gave to the good gentleman. And now come and pretend all kind of craziness, signing MOU. You didn't want to work with him then. You didn't help him in Foga. You denied him the money. And today, when Crapper, Smoky Pipe in Vineyard Heights and the quarry, you run doing this. Elections come in. We all know that. But we are going to expose also why you're doing it. Because you are not doing it for the people of St. Maarten. You're doing it hoping to get yourself some votes to get elected again. No more, no less. Now, there was an article about The Hague performing fairly well after hurricanes with evaluations. And I read the article, and I think The Hague basically said, listen, we have learned some good lessons, some good strategies. We're putting those in place. And we are also building capacity and training the people in St. Maarten and also in Holland, BZK, making the necessary adjustments. And I think most importantly, they accepted that the way they brought on the conditions onto us for the liquidity support was unwarranted. What I missed was that even though I know they have said it before, the choice of the World Bank was the wrong choice for us. Was not the best way to do the rebuilding of St. Maarten. And I missed that in the letter from the State Secretary to the Second Chamber. Look, all in all, I think lessons were learned on both sides of the fence with the whole Irma and then the COVID. I think lessons were learned on both sides. The rebuilding, the resiliency, sometimes I still have some serious issues with that because the length of time it's taking for some critical things like house roofs, the GB, the resiliency of GB, the critical infrastructure of GB, water tanks, not all of them are back up and running yet. Talk about the schools not being finished yet. They're taking too long. And there's no good reason for that. Irma was nearly 6 years ago. September will make it 6 years. And we don't have the rebuilding showing anything yet. The trust fund is 5 years old nearly. And they are now extending it for another 3 or 4 years up to 2028. The question I have is, who's going to pay the World Bank for those extra years? Because if you're going to take the money out of the existing trust fund, that means you're going to be cutting into programs. Because the World Bank is not doing this for free. Their consultants are very expensive. So again, see, these are the things that are not so clear in that part. But again, I think the government should pick up the rope and, reel it in a little bit and say, okay, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? Because these are things that are not being told to the public. Nobody's paying attention to these things. Sometimes people read these articles and just move on. While you should sit down a minute and ask the question, what exactly are we saying? Now, let me finish off today because I decided I don't want to make it too long and I'm running for about an hour now. Let me finish off with something that caught my attention. Last week, Friday, I listened to MP Brison. You just have the live feed on Ability, SOS. And something I decided, you know what? I need to understand better. Bitcoin, TRON, and MP Brison. What really going on there? Because if my memory serves me well, and I'm going to try to elude it, I wrote down a few things, and I'm going to just try to put the timeline that we all understand. I can recall some time back there, the MP said that he wants his salary in Bitcoin. And he was telling the Minister of Finance, yeah, he is ready to accept his salary, his full salary, in Bitcoin. And this made news. Because an MP is asking to take his salary in Bitcoin. No. There was a gentleman came down here, I can remember, they were driving around, they had taxi drivers, and we accept Bitcoin, and we this, and we that. It was a phone app. I can't remember the gentleman's name. And then when MP Brison was arrested, he came out and he put out a whole story on what's going on with the Bitcoin, etc., etc. Now, I don't get into all those things because on convenience people can say a lot of things. Then came TRON, and MP Brison brought a bunch of people to the Parliament building on this whole TRON thing. Now, in principle, listen, I'm not a Bitcoin fan, so I'm not going to defend Bitcoin and I ain't going to fight it neither. I know for sure I ain't put my money in Bitcoin. I'm going to just hold on to the regular little piece of paper and I'm going to put that in my cash pan if I need to. I ain't getting into this thing with tomorrow somebody break into my internet and thief my password from Bitcoin, I lose all my money. No. I ain't going there. Those that want to, please feel free. But most recently, there was a major investigation by the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commissions, and the FBI. And you have to tie this in to what's happening in St. Maarten. The FBI was in St. Maarten and they did a whole search in the cliffs, in the apartment of a gentleman that was arrested, Mr. Ganji or something like that. I'm not sure of the name, so please don't hold me. Let's just call it the Cliff apartment owner. He was arrested in America together with the guy Justin Sun, who owns the TRON. And they charged, I was reading the article, they charged a bunch of his companies, 3 or 4 companies that he fully owns, with all kind of funny dealings with this Bitcoin. The thing is this, remember that podcast, that voice note that went around, that the MP had say how what Grisha was and this and that and the high guys didn't get any more contracts from the minister, blah 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 blah. That tape was made in that apartment. So you know that crew were all together there in the apartment that was searched by the FBI, etc., etc. Not that they have anything to do with that. Just saying, put things together. Just look at the timelines and then you're going to start to see that something must be wrong. Because you go from Bitcoin to this TRON thing overnight. Now, they arrest the good MP and they start talking about bribery. The problem is, what kind of bribery is it? Because the fellow from Bitcoin said he didn't bribe nobody. He for sure didn't bribe nobody, and he was there when all the documents were signed for the change of legislation. But that too is a funny thing, because I checked my Parliament. Is there any such legislation booked in? And the answer is no. There is no legislation booked in unless the people I asked to look for it went over it. And if I'm wrong, please correct me and publish the legislation that was booked in to Parliament to do this Bitcoin stuff in St. Maarten, or the TRON stuff, because now it is TRON. They went from Bitcoin to TRON. And TRON was going to be the new thing. But the owner of TRON lock up, get pick up. And tutus, they pick up the MP down here. And this is a Bitcoin something. That's what it seems like. When I put the numbers together now, I don't know. Then I heard the good MP start talking about the up. Well, no. He said it started about who's setting him up and who create fake accounts on Facebook. He started talking about Russian hackers or local hackers. What you all got to learn to do is listen carefully when everybody talks. Because when you hear the Prime Minister talking about geopolitical, that means it ain't here. So the question is, where was it? Where was that geopolitical? What instigated that? What instigated the Prime Minister said was uncanny and geopolitical? Those are two words that caught me, and I remembered them. Again, I don't have everything. I don't know everything, and I'm not interested in knowing everything. All I want to do is try to put this a little bit in what's happening here in St. Maarten. Because the image of St. Maarten by an MP being arrested with this Bitcoin TRON fraud, being bribed to sell a product that doesn't truly exist. I don't know anymore what it is. But that's the impression that's being created. Because nobody is saying nothing. All you're hearing, bribery. Bribery means you can get suspended just like I got. Because if the FBI involved, if Sun lock up, this one get picked up also. Where you going? And then they're worrying about which party they're going to run on. And who own the party. Because that too was surprising for me when I heard suddenly MP Heiliger Maarten say, you cannot use the up party. Something like that. Something like that. And he going to use it. And blah, blah, blah. And he guaranteeing all the people, nobody got to worry, no candidates got to worry about. And I'm saying to myself, I must be missing something. But again, that my fight. I run it now. Not up, not down, I run it now. But there was something that I want to correct. MP Brison said he coined the saying, give Mullet Bay back to the people. Let me say this clear. Mullet Bay was never from the people. All right? A lot of people worked at Mullet Bay. But Mullet Bay was never owned by this government or any other government to be from the people. It is a wrong phrase to use. Mullet Bay used to be our flagship back in the 70s and even in the 80s until it got destroyed. Mullet Bay will never come back as the Mullet Bay we knew with all those spreads throughout the whole property because it's too expensive to build and maintain. The maintenance is disastrous. So towers, like how you have 14 there, a few towers in Mullet Bay would be great. But it will never, never, ever again put so many people to work. It will never bring back the good old days of Mullet Bay as we grew up knowing them. I grew up knowing them. What we have to do and use the phrase, give it back to the people, is the Mullet Bay beach. That belongs to the people. Not the property. It was never ours. It was private property that was sold. From families in St. Maarten to foreign investors. Let's not confuse the issue. Elections coming. We know that. And I will sit by and ensure that I correct statements that are not true. I hope Russian hackers did not hack the MP's account. I truly hope so because they ain't easy. The worst I ever had a hack was on Facebook, and they fixed it for me afterwards. I believe so. I don't deal with it too much. I don't get into all this thing. I'm not well versed in it, but I found it kind of funny. The MP said it's either the Russians hack it or the locals that want to take him down. And when he started speaking about it on the floor of Parliament, it disappeared. The accounts were gone. So either the Russian hackers are following Parliament's meeting or the locals pulled back and he's digging into it so that slowly but surely he can bring all of this to light. And I agree with him because if local people are doing that to you, you should expose them. If you all have the technology to find out who do it, then expose the people because this is craziness. But all I'm saying is you all got to be careful with how you're destroying the name of country St. Maarten with these kind of Bitcoin things. Because when listen, elections are on, we have a lot of loose lips in St. Maarten. I can guarantee you a lot of things are being said about A lot of people, I'm sure including myself, that might not be true or might be true. But at the end of the day, what we have to do is start looking at positive things that we can look at and not all these negative things. Carnival season starting in 2 weeks. And I know it's going to be a hot carnival. It's going to be a hotter summer too if we continue going the way we're going. Because just now greed is going to kick in. And when greed kicks in, government is going to kick out. We have a lot of problems on our hands that we still have to deal with. That 60 million that the Prime Minister said she get from the trust fund, I'm happy for her. I hope that they stop talking now and do something with the landfill so that at least we can show something after 6 years. Because up until today, we have nothing other than 15 million that was spent on consultants, 12 to 14 million to move the people from around the landfill, the Irma dump remaining in place and not going to be cleaned up, the public works out there fighting hard to keep fires off the dump, etc. Because none of those things were done by the NRPB. Don't let nobody fool you. VROMI, the VROMI boys and girls, first under my direction till 2020, and after that under the directions of Janssen, Leah, Schamine and all them, they have done and kept that dump the way it is, with the help of a bunch of local contractors. That's how it went. Don't let nobody fool you. They put equipment up there that ain't working. That's what it did. So let's move on. Let's say that with the money they get now, they're going to do something. Hopefully they're going to put a MRF there, a material recovery facility. Hopefully they're going to put a recycling program in place so we can get some of the garbage off the island. Think on Carex, think on glass, plastic, aluminium cans, whatever. Hopefully they will find a partner to do waste to energy and create some 15 megawatt that they can give to GB to put on the net while burning some of the garbage. And there are different ways of doing that. Ways that were already approved by the government of the same NA government back in 2017. So again, it's not about who approved what, it's about continuation. Let's hope that happens now. Because right now, in my closing remarks, I'm going to be very skeptical with certain things. This PFP exposure of the fraudulent behavior with the awarding of the district cleaning contracts is going to cause a lot of havoc before the last word is said. A lot of people might find themselves in very serious legal issues before the last word is said. The Prime Minister of Aruba explained to the Parliament of Aruba in reasonable detail what she is signing tomorrow in the Netherlands. Our Prime Minister opted not to say anything, and while the editorial of the Herald said that is more procedures and processes that will be signed off tomorrow, they also very wisely closed the editorial with "the devil is in the details." And that's what I'm most scared of with this whole thing. Our budget 2023, will the CFT accept it with the amendments that they know are coming, or will we just have to wait and see? The political MOU signed with the Maarten Housing Development, I hope that yields something. I hope the minister takes the high road and calls the people that have the land right now and tries to work out something. But we need, as country, to find some positive directions. Positive directions in agriculture, positive directions in sports, positive directions in education, positive directions in alternative energy. They are all there for the grabbing. We just need to do so. Please share my podcast and also like and subscribe to my YouTube page. Have a great week ahead. Stay safe. Remember, this is Holy Week. We are in right now. Friday is going to be Good Friday. Sunday is Easter Sunday. Monday is Easter Monday. These are days that we like to go to the beach. Be safe. You know, the devil always out during the Lent. So take care of yourself and have a wonderful, wonderful Easter. Have a safe Good Friday and see you all in 2 weeks. Next week, Monday, I will not be on because it's Easter Monday and I believe you all have a right to enjoy your day. If there's something really urgent, I will be back on Tuesday next week. Other than that, I'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. Take care. God love you all. Bunks is out.